and welcome to this 13th episode here in Britta Arnild's World on YouTube. I have just finished filming a Norwegian episode and I was a little in doubt, shall I make an English one or not? And I decided yes, I want to make one, a shorter one. You will have the same beginning and the end with footage from nature and my mother's piano playing, and then I will talk a little about what I have been knitting since last time. It's 2 weeks now since the last episode, and especially I have a pair of socks I really wanted to show you. You saw them in the beginning here. They are not quite finished and I will let you know why. They are based on a painting by the Dutch painter Piet Mondrian. You might know him, I don't know. It's very easy to remember if you have seen this. I have recently bought this book about Mondrian from Amazon. And the reason why Piet Mondrian is of interest to me is these socks which I'm working on. I have finished the first sock and I'm working on the second one. And I have a project bag in the same design. This is actually an interesting story. For Christmas, I got a pair of socks from a dear friend of mine in Austria, Dagmar. Hello, Dagmar. A pair of beautiful socks. I have showed them in the previous episode. And Dagmar told me the name of the designer, which I don't remember now, and also the name of the person who had dyed the yarn she used. And it was a beautiful yarn. It was an Austrian woman. Her name is Sandra. And she has a website with the address craftstuff.au. I will put the link down here. And I went to her website. I found her on Instagram. I started to follow her. And then I think it was in the end of February or beginning of March. I'm not quite sure. She wrote a blog post on her website about a new kind of sock club she was starting. The Artist of the Month. In German, it's called Die Socke des Künstlers, the artist socks. And first out was Piet Mondrian. And she showed us a painting of Mondrian and said it would be a yarn and a project bag. And this sounded so interesting. So I ordered a set. It's quite expensive to order from Norway to Austria because you have to pay costume and this extra, is it called rat or something? I don't know. And also the postage, of course. But I decided I wanted this so much. I was in the process of knitting all these wrist warmers inspired by also an Austrian, Joseph Frank, at that moment. And this is completely different from Joseph Frank's paintings, watercolors. So I wanted to do this. And a couple of weeks ago, maybe less than that, I got yarn in the mail with this project bag and with this beautiful card from Sandra. And I started to knit, of course. And it's quite interesting the way she has done it. We got 2 white cakes, balls of yarn, a little ball of black and a bigger ball of yellow. So what we were meant to do was to knit the ribbing in yellow, then start on the white ball, which actually started with a thread of black. So we just knitted and knitted and knitted, followed from the ball until I came down here. Then we were supposed to have yellow on the heel, and I decided to put in some black from the little black yarn. And also when I came here, the original ball was all white. The rest of it was all white then. So I put in some black and some yellow to be true to Mondrian's paintings. I really love these socks. I'm not sure if I will ever wear them. I will just have them as a kind of piece of art or something. I had planned to finish them yesterday. Oops, here's the second one. But when I came here, I just realized through internet that on Saturday, in 5 days, there will be a concert here in Trondheim at the Historical Museum Ringve, Historical Museum of Music. A concert with the Trondheim Soloists, which is a group of musicians which is world famous. My brother used to play there when he was younger. And Arne and Carlos, which you know, I'm sure you do. So Arne and Carlos has had some kind of collaboration with these Trondheim Soloists, making a pattern for, I think, wrist warmers and maybe mittens, I'm not quite sure. So it will be a concert with the musicians, and then Arne and Carlos will talk about their knitting and how they found inspiration and the process of the design they made for the Trondheim Soloists. And while listening to the music, to the talking, we can sit there and knit. Sit and knit a bit, isn't that what Arne and Carlos says? So I phoned my mother and said, oh, do you want to come to a concert with me? She said yes, and I bought 2 tickets. And then I started to think, oh, what shall I work on when I sit there? It has to be something simple, but I also want to have something special, because when you are at a place like that, of course, you look at all the others. What are they working on? Is there anything of interest? And if I sit there working on these socks, of course it is of interest to the others also. So I decided to stop the socks here and finish them on Saturday during the concert. So that's my not Arne and Carlos socks, the Piet Mondrian socks. And as I said, I will put a link to craft stuff down below here if you're interested in ordering yarn from her. She has a beautiful selection of hand-dyed, indie-dyed sock yarn. I think it's mostly sock yarn. I'm not quite sure. You also saw in the beginning I was out in the forest picking blue anemones. Wood anemones, or the wood anemones, are those only the white ones? I'm not quite sure. These blue ones we call blåveis in Norway. Blå is blue, and the white ones we call hvitveis. Hvit is white. They are anemones and they are wild. The white ones are very common here in Trondheim. The blue ones, they are more rare. When I was a child, we used to go and find them in spring, but the last years I have not been able to find any. This book is a flower book which was given to me by my grandparents for my 8th birthday. So earlier this year, I have talked about it in a previous episode, when I got this blue yarn from an indie dyer here in Norway, which he had called, it's a man, yeah, Bjørn Stulenstrik. He had called the blue yarn for anemone. So for me it had to be blue anemone socks. So I designed this row of leaves from this painting. Here you see the leaves. So now finally on Sunday, Terje and I were out in the forest. A friend of mine had told us where we could find some blue anemones, and we found them, and Terje did some filming. We did not find this all blue in the forest ground, but we found a few, and I was so happy. And I decided, no, finally it's time to write down the pattern for these socks. It will be done in my knitting blog, Maskerade. The writing will probably be done in Norwegian, but I will post the pattern for this blue anemone leaves. And then, even though if the writing is in English, you can knit socks like you usually knit socks, or you can find a free pattern on Ravelry for vanilla socks, or you can buy a pattern for vanilla socks and use the vanilla sock pattern and then put in these leaves if you want to make the socks. I had planned to do that also till today, but the weather has been so beautiful here lately. So I have spent all my time out in the garden, out hiking, and also our oldest daughter has been moving, so we have helped them a lot. I have not actually been helped them with the moving, but I have looked after the boys and I have made food and so on. But I will post this on my knitting blog, and I will put a link down here. Then I think in my previous episode, yes, I remember correct, I talked about this yarn, and you saw I had started to knit a top. This blue-green yarn is from Martin's Lab in Poland, I think. And this is all the same dyer as had dyed the blue anemone yarn. And I had started to knit myself a top, kind of similar to this one, even more similar to this one. I love these tops or t-shirt or what I should call them to wear over a dress. So last night I finished this one. It's not washed, it's not blocked, the threads are still there, but it's finished. Well, here's the front side. Like in the pink one, I have in both sides a row of some kind of well, I call them Joseph knots. I think I've told about this before. Cables, only using 2 stitches, and I also have the same knots or cables up in the raglan all the way up. Then in the beginning of the sleeves I have these stripes, and also the start of the top, and up around the neck I use only the pink yarn together with the green. When I bought the yarn from a yarn shop here in Norway, I wanted to buy enough with this color for the whole top, but they didn't have enough, so I decided to go for these 2. And in the top I knit stripes, 3 rows, and you kind of can't see it. Out in the sun you can see it. And then I change color every 3 row in the side here, pearl stitch, and you can't see where I do the changing. But then when I came to the raglan, I was a little afraid that it would show where I changed the color. So I wondered, what shall I do? And then I came up with a very creative idea, I think. On the back side, starting here where the arms are put on, I have made 1 pearl stitch all the way up, and then I changed the yarn in the pearl stitch. And what I plan to do is to buy tiny little buttons and put up quite close to each other. These are 2 project markers. I will take them away, of course, and have tiny buttons up here. So it will kind of look like on the back that it's opened and buttoned up. I really look forward to have this all finished and start to wear it. With the leftover yarn, because I have some leftover, I might knit a dress to my little granddaughter Vida. This one is a dress I made for our oldest daughter Ingrid the summer she was 1. She was born in August. It's knitted in cotton, And I remember we were in Denmark when I knitted it. I sat in the car when we drove, and I finished it, and we went up north in Norway to visit my brother and his family, and Ingrid started to use this. I loved it. I don't have a pattern, I just made it up as I knitted. And I will probably make a similar one to Vida using this yarn. This is wool, so it might be a little warm in the summer, but summers in Norway, they don't have to be warm. They can be quite cold, so a dress out of wool can also be a nice thing. And maybe I can buy some cotton and make her one in cotton as well. In the Norwegian episode, I talked a lot about memories from my youth and, well, all up to till now. And one of the things I talked about, which I will share with you also, is my connection to India. Back in, it must have been 1995, I think, I subscribed to Quilter's newsletter magazine. Does it still survive, the magazine? I don't know. I subscribed for many years. And in 1995, I put my name into a pen pal list in the magazine. Name and address and a little about my interest. And that I wanted pen pals interested in quilting. Pen pals from all over the world. I got a lot of feedback, so I wrote so many letters for so many years. And one of the women who wrote to me, I think they were only women, was Caroline from India. Caroline was the same age as my mother, born in 1930. And we started to send letters back and forth, pen pals, pin pals, as we called ourselves. And we got to know each other quite well. Last week, Caroline died, the age 91. The last 3 or 4 years, she has been living in Rome, in Italy, with her daughter. I met her a year and a half ago, the last time I met her. But I'm sitting here with this postcard because back in 2001, when I had been corresponding with Caroline for a few years, I was at work one day. I worked for the Bishop of Nidaros, and it was in March 2001, and I got a phone call from a colleague from another place in Norway. He was working for another bishop, and he told me that he was planning a trip to Rome, driving by bus from Sweden all the way through Europe down to Rome, back again, with a group of deacons, a group of Norwegian deacons and a group of Swedish deacons. And he had two available seats in the bus. And if I was interested, I could come with them. The bus tour started in, I think, a week or two. So I had to decide fast. And I said, oh, I would love to, but I have to ask my boss and I have to ask my husband. Can you wait till tomorrow? Yes, he could wait one day, but no more. So I went directly into my boss's office and asked him, and he said yes. And I went down, came home from work, started to talk with Terje, and he said yes. Of course, we had to make some plans with the children and so on. And then in the mailbox that same day was a postcard from Rome. And it was from Caroline. I'm not going to read all of it, but actually she says that she was in Rome visiting her daughter, and because of some health issues, she had to stay longer than she had planned. And since she now was in Rome, not in India, and we were in the same continent, why wouldn't I come down to Rome and see her? The same day, can you imagine? So I wrote her directly and said, yes, I'm coming to Rome. Actually, she invited me to come and stay with her daughter, which I couldn't because I had to go with this bus tour. And we had only 2 days in Rome with the bus tour, but one of the days we had some time off, and I met Caroline, I met Sherry, her daughter, and also one of the grandsons. They took me to an ice cream bar, Gelateria, and we drove around. It was so much fun. A few years later, back in 2008, was the year I turned 50, and I decided to give myself a very special birthday gift, a trip to India. So the autumn of 2008, I spent 3 weeks in India with Caroline. I had the most wonderful time. I have gone back one time later, a few years later. Terje, my husband, and I, we were in Hong Kong visiting friends, and when Terje flew home, I flew to India and spent a week with Caroline. And I have met her also twice later in Rome. And then last week I got a message from her daughter that Caroline has now passed away. Very sad, but she had really some severe health issues recently, so she silently passed away, slept in. This started a flood of memories for me, of course. I found the travel journal diary I'd written in 2008. I have not yet found the one I wrote some years later, or the ones from Rome, but I will. And I found the letters I have taken care of. It should have been hundreds of letters, but these were those I was able to find during my little search. Caroline always put colorful stamps on her letters, and very often she put interesting stuff into the letter. Newspaper articles from India or from the world, a lot of interesting stuff. So these, I have not reread the letters now, but one day I will start to read them again and let myself be taken back into all these wonderful memories. Before I end, I have one book I want to show you. This is a gift I got from Caroline on my first visit to India, and it's the works of Ibsen, the Norwegian Henrik Ibsen, in English, the works of Ibsen. And it's beautiful. It's really a piece of art. And in the book, it has a dedication from 1955, where it says, "From our library to your library. This book is affectionately dedicated to you and yours, Mr. and Mrs. Ernest," and I'm not quite sure. They gave it to Caroline and her husband Hasse in 1955. Then in 2008, Caroline wrote, "And now back to Norway, from where it came. Love from the Parpias, 2008, Mysore." Isn't this a wonderful treasure to have? The world and our lives are so filled with memories like this. Small memories, big memories, like a trip to India, but it can also be like when I was out picking the blue anemones on Sunday. I started to think of when I was a child. My mother played the piano then also, of course, and there was an old song about the blue anemone girl, and I loved that my mother played that song for me when I had gone to bed. I could have the bedroom door open. I had my bedroom in the ground floor. We had the living room and the piano up in the first floor. And my mother could sit down and play about this blue anemone girl or other songs, and I could sleep with the music filling my head and my heart. There are so many memories like this, and I have for many years told myself that, oh, don't forget to write down these memories, to be able to share them with generations coming. And I think now it's the time to actually sit down and start writing. Of course, I'm sharing some of them here also. And my grandchildren, great-grandchildren and so on, maybe they want to listen to some of these videos one day. Who knows? Anyway, I will go out for another hike today. You will come with me in a post some footage here in the end of the episode to the fjord. In the beginning, you came with me to look for flowers, spring flowers. I hope you have liked this. I hope to hear from you. I hope you press the like button. I really hope that you can write comments. I love that. And I really try to write back to every single one of you. Thank you very much for being here. See you next time in a week or two, hopefully. Bye.